Sweet. All right. Welcome everyone to this week's workshop. I'll keep letting people in, but essentially today we're going to be covering how Landon built, I think it was like close to like $140,000 a month Daas agency. And I said it was under 60 days, but it's really been like only like, it took him like 6 weeks to build this whole thing out. Now, essentially what he's doing is he's developed this amazing newsletter strategy. If you guys were in our workshop, we did, when was it? It was like a few weeks ago. We talked about how you can take the intent data and then build these hyper, targeted newsletters, which is just these insane lead machines. Landon just took this and ran with it. And he built out his first newsletter, which was for a weight loss niche, I think it was. And in 6 weeks, built out the newsletter, including warming, sold it, and then he's just rinsed and repeated the process. So brought him on. Basically, he's going to share a little about his agency optins.io, which is really just taking this whole newsletter thing and building assets to a whole new level. So later, man, I'll let you take the floor, and if you guys have any questions, just chuck them in the chat, and then we can address them either at the end or I can triage them, but I'll make sure I get everybody answered.
Heck yeah, man. Well, appreciate you letting me jump on. And there's some familiar faces here. I know Robert, we've met before, some other people on here that I've had the opportunity to actually work with in the past. So super excited to jump on, kind of show you guys what we're doing, kind of walk you through, and basically just give you the step-by-step template of how it's actually working and make it super actionable for you. So I also have my partner Levi's on here as well. So I'll just share my screen here. We'll dive into it. And as we go, if there's any questions, I'll try to answer as many as possible and get rockets. So let me pull this up.
And can you share screen? 1 sec. Let me make sure you can.
Yep.
There you go, dude. Yep.
Should be good. Cool. So first things first, obviously for you guys that don't know me, just want to give you a small, quick intro. I don't like to talk a whole lot about myself, but my name is Landon Atkinson. I founded my first company at 14, and then we exited that company at 22 years old. So basically, I spent about 50% of my days on Earth, literally in the digital marketing space. So a lot of experience there. Had opportunities to work with and consult over 1,000 different companies that collectively generate over $100 million. In the last 2 years, I was fortunate enough to actually be on the executive team of 3 companies that scaled to at least $1 million a month in multiple different industries. So we scaled a B2C offer, so info offer from 0 to 4 million in under 9 months. Levi was with me on that one as well, and scaled from 0 to 2.6 million in 6 months with a B2B service. Levi was also there with me on that company. So we're now focusing on customer acquisition through our new company called optins.io. And so the biggest thing that I always try to explain to people is we've spent a lot of money on ads. But the question always is like, how can I produce a predictable result and something that's similar to what we can get with our ads without having to pay platforms millions of dollars? So literally this is, I went and took the screenshot today for you guys. One of our ad accounts, we spent $4.5 million since January 1st of 2023. So we do still spend money on ads. We still use ads. However, it's one of those things where the question has always been, can I build a template that has a floor for my company that I don't have to go use somebody else's platform for? So first things first, I would love to kind of know just who here is B2B, who here is B2C. If you guys want to drop in the chat, just to kind of have an idea how many of you guys are in each area, because a lot of this is going to apply to both of you. So B2B and B2C.
B2B,
Cool.
B2C. B2B,
A lot of people that are both. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
like B2B is basically just, like businesses aren't people, right? So it's like,
Right.
but yeah, sweet. All right. I'll, keep going, man. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So the strategy and I guess where this idea came from. So as you guys remember, Nick was on here and did a workshop kind of explaining how he built his newsletter. And so actually a couple of weeks before he jumped on, Adam and I were on a call with him. And this is where I learned it. And it kind of was like in passing, and it had nothing to do with actually figuring out what he was doing for the newsletter, but it got brought up. But I guess my biggest thought was, can I actually use this to generate, I guess, both B2C and B2B appointments? So All that we did is took what Nick is already doing and added 2 layers to it. So we put inbox managers on top of it, and we have a hands-free omnichannel follow-up. So basically completely done with AI. There's nothing that you have to do. And so I'll show you exactly how we're doing that as well. So our first test when we did this, and this is the test that Adam was kind of mentioning, these are the numbers that we found. So we did about 10,000 emails, about 11,000 actually. Let me get Zoom out of the way here. About 11,000 emails, 3,000 of those opened, 1,411 responded, and about 450 of them unsubscribed. So a lot of this was really just spraying and praying, trying to figure out, does this work? Really no method to the madness. Just taking something that was a total concept that Nick had shared, see if we can make this thing work. So in 7 days, we built that first list just over 3,100 people. And so all that we did was use a cadence, like I said, from inbox managers and use the follow-up. So the list was extremely engaged. And this was, it was really good, but we actually ended up just selling this to a life coach for his own use. However, our entire sending infrastructure got doxxed on the 8th day. So I have 2 really, really, really big disclaimers for anybody that is here. First things first, Google, Outlook, all the other main providers, anything that's like an at Gmail, at Outlook, at Hotmail, all of those are extremely hard to deliver to right now because there's a totally separate protocol. So anyone that's familiar with email knows that Google uses a very specific protocol for that, and it's separate from anything on Workspace, as well as Outlook and all the rest. So Google also just released a ton of new updates that continue to make our lives kind of tough to send emails that regulate all personal inboxes. So truthfully, it is just becoming about impossible to send a cold email to a Gmail address, Outlook, anything of that sort. So now we only send to company email addresses. So obviously with all the data Audience Lab provides, like it's not hard, like you can find a work address for most B2C people. But it is a big disclaimer. I just want to make sure everyone is aware of it because I don't want you to like go off and just start sending a bunch of Gmail accounts and then not be able to get results. So number 2, there's a vast separation between the strategy that we use for B2B companies and B2C companies. So we have tested literally every which way but sideways to generate B2B appointments via newsletter. I'll be honest with you, it didn't really provide a ton of results. So the newsletter works incredibly well for you if you have a very niche B2C type offer. And there is a B2B strategy that we do that works almost 100% of the time. And so really that's kind of what I want to show you is the differences between those two and how to use them. So our appointment strategy 2.0. So we tested 4 different strategies to basically acquire a B2B newsletter and get appointments from this. So we tried Nick's research model. We did custom looms. We did 1-sentence emails, and we literally did direct newsletter invites, and almost none of them worked. Like we got a few of them that would, work, and we get a few here and there, but nothing that worked at the scale of the first one. So our realization is that basically the newsletter itself is just a lead magnet that can be interchanged. And so we did an entire new test without any sort of newsletter whatsoever in our B2B campaigns. And so as you can see on the second test, this one was much more calculated. So our volume was very specific and we did minor increments, and it was way less than the first one. So we sent 300 the first day and then scale up to 400 by day 7. We stopped tracking opens. So super important thing here for anybody that does this. It works to track opens in Nick's model, and like that's how he's transferring people over. However, what we're doing is a little bit different because we're trying to get responses and then transfer them over because the engagement stays really high. So we stopped tracking opens. It helps our deliverability. And then from there, we had 423 responses, 175 unsubscribed, but of those responses, 38.47% of those were positive. So a really high positive response rate, 163 of them. And from those 163, we generated 15 appointments in 7 days and 3 new clients. So it's way more specific. It's much more in depth. And ultimately, I want to kind of cover, the separation of the strategy, and then I'll break down exactly what we're doing inside of that strategy. So first off, B2C strategy, using a newsletter that is a subtopic that is relevant to the ideal audience. So not a direct topic to your audience. I know Nick covered some of this, Adam, and I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but I'll just give you an example here. Let's say you sell life insurance, which I know multiple people on this call do. Your newsletter is never going to be about insurance. So if you just think through your ICP, what age are they? What content do they consume? What is relevant to them? Your newsletter could be about home decor, retirement activities, traveling. It's anything relative to that person. And so this is super important for everyone here that is B2C when you go and do this.
Hey, Landon, are you able to quickly, somebody asked, how did you get the initial list? This was this in market or did you do a custom audience?
Yeah, everything that we're doing is either keyword or in market right now. So we haven't even tested with like super, super custom audiences.
Gotcha. So just for someone that asked, basically went into Audience Lab, and went into our in-market builder, and then chose the in-market for whatever niche I was looking for, and then just built that list. And then I think you were using what, the personal, with this example, the B2C, this was the personal email.
Yeah. So the original example would have been personal emails. And since then, we only use basically like a work email or obviously their business email address. So I actually, yeah, I'm going to cover kind of like how I segment audiences. It's a super, super important process to what we do. So that's coming up here in a second. So also feel free to stop me again, if there's any more questions, if I'm not catching them. So cool. So the difference to that versus our B2B strategy is a B2B process is literally a direct conversion focused funnel where the relevant problem is in your copy. So let's say you sell a SaaS product. All we're doing is building an ICP around what the product solves, matching that ICP to an Audience Lab audience, and then just creating an entire email funnel. So we'll actually test the newsletter as a lead magnet. But like I said, we just haven't found a ton of them to work. But more times than not, like it's a rotation of that actual lead magnet that we're giving to that person. So again, basically what I want to show you here, and the whole purpose of this, a lot of that intro and preface is just to kind of let you guys in on this. I want to show you how I'm actually generating the traffic, regardless of B2B or B2C, and just how you can use the exact same thing. So just take everything step by step and actually go implement it. So first things first, I'll show you the exact infrastructure we use from how we're thinking through the ICP, how I build audiences, how we structure the campaigns and mailboxes, our messaging, the inbox management SOP, which is super, super important. And then a small little secret that actually converts a ridiculous amount of responses. And this is something that we found in our tests. And then basically how we're using Omnichannel Follow-Up that is literally solid AI. It's 100% hands-free. And it almost doubled our responses. So step number one is our audiences. So we look at an audience in 3 different phases, and a lot of this stuff is going to be basic, but I'll explain why. So we look at it from accumulated information. So this is just your general basic information about a person, their offline constraints, and their online intent. So when we look at accumulated information, all I want to do is define the person from a basic evaluation. Essentially, like I said, consumer data points. What do they do for work? How much money do they make? What's their credit rating? What is their age? Where do they live? Are they married? Do they have kids? All these different things, believe it or not, are very important because the nature of the copy that you're about to write. So from there, we'll take a look at offline constraints. So what defines the problem that this person has, and what are their pain points? So what problems are they facing right now? What have they done to solve the problem? What are the side effects of not solving that problem? And what does it actually look like when they do solve the problem? So again, as we layer this, and I'll kind of give you an example here at the end that makes a lot more sense. As we layer this, all that we're doing is structuring an entire campaign from A to Z that is similar all the way through the whole process where you're targeting one pain point and giving a solution. So the problem that I've found is most people, when they do cold outreach, it's a lot of spray and pray and, just hope for the best. And there's a way to do a lot of volume with this, but also at the same time have a ton of personal touch points. So number 3, online intent. And this is obviously where in-market and keywords come into play. So what is this person consuming online? What are they interested in? What are they buying already? So what are the websites that they're on, products they're purchasing, their Google search history, what influencers are they following, companies that they spend money with, all that sort of stuff. So by the time you finish something like this, this is exactly what our ICPs look like. We go through in depth and basically build out a customer mold for every single campaign. So in this case, let's say it's John. He's 45 years old, 80K income. He lives in Atlanta. He's married, owns a house. He's a CMO of a roofing company, struggling to generate new leads for his business in today's economy, or for the business. Hired and fired 3 agencies trying to solve the lead flow problem. Not having lead flow is causing their top reps to resign, leading to a net loss month over month, leading to internal pressure and stress away from work. If John solved the lead flow problem, his income would increase, his wife would stop barking at him, and the CEO would give him some space to breathe. So John's been searching Google for marketing courses, how to generate leads, how to increase SEO. John's been visiting digitalmarketer.com, Neil Patel, HubSpot blog, and he also follows Gary Vee, Neil Patel, Alex Hormozi, Carl Hudson, James Dooley. So from here, this ICP is 100 times easier to write a piece of copy for than just saying, I work with roofing companies. Because I can promise you, if you go into that campaign and you're trying to make conversions with basic copy where you're just targeting roofing companies and people that work at them, it's not going to work. You'll get some results, but you'll never get a ton. So let's see here. I want to answer a couple of these questions. So how do you know about the marital pressure John is facing? So this is an assumption, okay? So I'll back up here. So a lot of these are your creative mind, right? So when we build ICPs, not a lot of these are going to be 100% correct, but the purpose of it is the more relative that we can make something, because most people that are having their business crumble underneath of them are going to have pressure at home. It's just a general assumption that we make. So I'm going to lean into that. And I'm not going to literally write a piece of copy saying, hey, is your wife bothering you at home? But we know that it's probably something that is happening. He's stressed away from work. It's definitely something that is bothering him. So ICP means ideal customer profile. So cool. Did I learn all this via Audience Lab? No. So a lot of this strategy is just years of experience in testing. A lot of it is, general marketing and testing a lot of different stuff through paid ads and just being involved in the space for a long time. So cool. All right. So like I said, 9 out of 10 companies that we work with massively underestimate the importance of the quality of the ICP. So we can split test one campaign that's just a broad ICP or, something that's super generic. And I can guarantee the response rate sometimes is almost half of the one that is extremely in-depth. So don't skip out on it. Don't take shortcuts when you're doing this. Make sure that it is very, very, very specific. And you spend at least, 20, 30 minutes looking through it because it pays off every time. Here. So step number 2 is our campaign sending structure. So I get asked a lot exactly like, how do we structure these and like, what's the, boring nitty gritty of it, but it's really simple. We use this is obviously scalable. So 1 domain, 2 to 3 sending accounts or inboxes per domain. So we use 2 just to stay on the safe side and not risk being blacklisted. It's less volume per domain. And I'd much rather just have more domains than try to squeeze out volume. So we send 25 emails per day per inbox. So if you need to figure out how many inboxes and domains you need for volume, just reverse engineer it. If you want to send 1,000 emails a day, you're going to need 40 inboxes and 20 domains. We buy all of our domains from Namecheap, Porkbun, and GoDaddy, and then host them on Cloudflare. And so like I said, thank me later. Your deliverability, and a lot of people that are in cold outreach don't know this, but your deliverability hosting on Cloudflare will be tremendously higher. So recently in the outreach world, there's been a huge issue with Porkbun and Namecheap directly hosted domains and GoDaddy directly hosted domains. So we tested moving them over to Cloudflare and they're almost bulletproof. So what Google does, or what any of the email providers do, is they don't only look at the status of the actual domain, they look at the status of the host as well. So Cloudflare has a really good reputation, obviously, with Google. So when they see it's hosted there, your likelihood of delivering is going up. So from here, only use Outlook Business or Google Workspace inboxes. So it's worth the cost. Trust me, don't take a shortcut here. You're going to save hundreds of dollars every single month, not having to cycle through blacklisted accounts. There's a ton of those companies that are out there right now that are saying hey, we'll build you inboxes super fast and we'll get you set up. But it doesn't pay. You're going to go through just as many inboxes, have to buy domains, and just keep cycling through them for a little bit of time up front and extra cost. You can have some bulletproof stuff. So once you have all the inboxes set up, use them and upload them to Instantly and use their warm up. So I use Instantly for everything. I also use Smartlead. However, I don't, have a preference. I think a lot of them have a fluctuation right now. So some months Instantly has been better, other months Smartly has been better. However, I do like Instantly more because of their features and how much content that they produce around their own products. So really quick, want to answer this question. So will subdomains count for additional domains? So anytime I use subdomains, I basically just do 1 or 3 at max of any root domain. So if I have xyz.com, I might only have, a.xyz or b.xyz and c. And then I have 1 inbox per subdomain. So you can get away with it. However, it just adds a little bit of complexity. It'll save you a little bit, but that's the way that we structure them. So beautiful. Cool. So this is just a quick screenshot. Most of you guys have used Instantly if you've used cold email. If not, obviously you have your warm up all automated. I don't change any of the settings. Truthfully, I've tested some different ones, but I just think Instantly's main settings work really well. All you got to do, drop them in here, 14 days of warm up and never go shorter. I don't care how good the health score is. I don't care if it's at 99%. Do not send an email from that thing before day 14. You're just asking yourself to get it doxxed and blacklisted. So cool. Step number 3, our messaging. So we've probably tested over 10 variations of each campaign that we've launched. And so 99% of the people that we work with that tell me that cold outreach doesn't work simply just didn't try hard enough. I can promise you, if you try one and it doesn't work right away, you're going to have to try 2 or 3 more. So Instantly has a ton of AI capabilities that allow you to create, super customized campaigns at scale. And we do a lot of stuff with, the plugin. So obviously, as long as you have an OpenAI key plugged into it, you can pretty much build any prompt that you want, customize anything that you want, and you can do it at scale and build custom stuff. So our exact model for this is pretty simple, truthfully. We use what's called the PSA, so Problem Solution Authority. So using the ICP, all that we do is exploit the problem, and we know their search intent already based on our audience. So we just briefly introduce a solution, but not your solution. And this is really important here. So every cold email that I've ever got that somebody sends me, and basically it's an intro line and they start telling me about how great their product is, I don't care. I'm going to probably delete it. Has nothing to do with the person or the company. It may be a great product. I just know that they're cold emailing, and I don't know. I just don't spend a lot of time with it. So what we started doing is introducing a solution. I'm going to give you the exact example of what I mean here. So let's say somebody is struggling with generating appointments. I'm not going to tell them, hey, I built this that can get you more appointments. I'm going to tell them, hey, I found something that can generate more appointments. Mind if I send you a quick video? And our split tests with that have shown that it's probably 20 to 30% higher response rates. Just from the psychology of it, people feel like they're being sold, they're going to decline it. So we finish there with an authority by mentioning a case study. So we give a case study based on, something simple. If you don't have a case study, realistically, this isn't the most important thing. It just does add an extra layer. From there, we give the call to action that is very, very low barrier. And here's the biggest secret. Your only goal with any emails is to get them to say yes, not to book an appointment, not to click a link, not to do anything, but say yes. That's all you have to do. Get them to say yes, and your job is done. From there, it's much easier. So it's just a follow-up game. So again, this is the AI prompts inside of Instantly. They have a lot of them that are already built in their template hub. Like literally anything you could ever need is going to be here. A lot of like really smart marketers from Lead Gen J, he has a full package of them that are in there free to use, but you can create your own. So this is an example of the messaging that we'll use that is very simple and basic. So it's, hey, Paul, economy dump, have you wondering how to keep your calendar full at Solomon Coil? We have a simple 4-step solution that will allow you to keep the floor evergreen through the ups and downs, absolutely zero dependency on your marketing spend, been generating 15 new opportunities per week internally. Mind if I send over a video? Can read it in less than 15 seconds, and it converts. So always remember with email, the objective is less about like education and, trying to get somebody to be convinced. It's just trying to spark some sort of interest and then get them to respond. Like, I want to leave them on a cliff. Can I get them to respond and engage in a conversation? Because I don't really care. The next step of this process is going to basically sell the product for me. Also, Jeff, why not just buy a domain direct from Cloudflare? We do that as well, but I have just found a better pricing with other sources. So that's why we buy them from there. So anyways, with the copy, I always remember and think through anytime you're writing copy, if I can read this in less than, or if it takes me more than 15 seconds to read this, I need to shorten it up. But can I get my entire process through in that first email and get them to say yes? Is all about my personalization. It's all about how well I know their problem. And we have a pure advantage because we know search intent, right? So most people that are blanket cold emailing don't have any sort of intent base. They're just guessing. Versus with audience, audience labs, we already know what they're searching online. So your first line is very easy. Economy dump have you wondering why your calendar isn't full or how to keep your calendar full. If they've been searching for, solutions online about marketing, sales, anything like that, we know that's already there. So it's going to get them to read it. And I don't want to waste any more of their time. I want to get to the end of this as fast as possible and see if I can get them to respond. So just a simple explanation, have a simple 4-step solution that will allow you to keep your floor evergreen through ups and downs with absolutely zero dependency on your marketing spend. It's been generating 15 new appointments per week internally. Mind if I send over video breaking it down? So any questions on copy or anything I can cover here before we keep going? Because I know this is where most people have the most questions.
I don't think there's any questions on copy. A few questions on like the technical stuff. What we'll do is we'll cover that towards the end so that we can stay on track. What does floor evergreen mean?
Yeah, cool. So floor evergreen just means keeping sales appointments coming. So it's just industry knowledge of what Solomon coil is. So it's a interesting way to say, we have a solution that can keep generating you appointments.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just industry jargon. So no, guys, any questions specific on the copy? Otherwise, we'll go to the next part, and then we can do a bit of some questions at the end.
Yep.
All right, let's jump to the next bit, and then we'll kind of do like a bit of a recap.
Cool. So the cool part about all of this is it's completely interchangeable relative to the search intent, whether it's B2B or B2C. And so, like I said, for instance, with weight loss offers or anything that's B2C of that sort, the same copy model works. As crazy as it sounds, it's all about relativity. So this is the importance of the entire, A to Z process of understanding the ICP, understanding how to write the copy that matches that ICP, and then giving them some sort of offer. So step number 4, which is the secret sauce that basically increased our conversions by 100%. And it works whether you're B2B or you're B2C, and it can single-handedly fill your calendar just by getting this one thing right. It's just VSLs. VSLs are going to be your best friend in this entire process. And so when you get a response, obviously if you have great copy, if you get a response, immediately send them a VSL. So if they don't respond through your follow-up, still send the VSL. Any way that you can get this person to see your VSL, the much higher likelihood you're going to have of success with this. And so I'm just going to give you guys the exact template for creating VSL that literally will convert no matter what you do. And the biggest thing here is it should be 15 minutes max. So people's attention spans are minuscule. So don't spend a lot of time on this or try to have a 30, 40-minute video trying to explain everything. All of our VSLs historically from the beginning of time through all the companies that, myself or Levi, we've all ran, every one of our VSLs that converts is 15 to 20 minutes. It's never longer. So this is the exact structure that we use. So number 1, the beginning of the video is just the problem they're facing in their life or business. So you can use opening lines like, do you notice that blank, introduce problem? Are you finding that blank? Have you tried to do blank, but blank? Is blank causing your business or you to have problem? So a good example of this is kind of like the email copy that I showed you in the example is, do you notice that, because of the economy changing, it's becoming harder for your company to generate more appointments? It's just something that's very easy to actually resonate to, and it's very similar to the email copy. Number two, the solution to the problem, not your solution. So again, this is becoming a theme. You're not pitching your services throughout any of this. It's like completely backwards. Most people want to run to the gun and try to, sell. The biggest thing you can do is give. Try to give as much information as possible. So use steps to identify what they should do to solve the problem. And it's 1 to 5 steps, never more. So an easy thing in that case, like let's say it's weight loss, most people that are fitness coaches have plenty of steps that they can use for people to lose weight that are very simple. And so they might say, hey, first thing, diet, and then explain diet and so on and so on. But they don't actually talk about, hey, join my coaching program. So from there, include your solution as a step. So it might be step 4, step 5, whatever your last step is, but actually include it as a step. So fitness person, step number 4 is get training, get coaching, get some sort of guide, get some sort of influence that can help you. So a big thing here too, compare to other solutions that they are aware of. So most people that are trying to lose weight, trying to generate appointments, trying to do anything are going to be aware of your competitors or a solution of a competitor. So compare it to it in a way that positions you when you do pitch the solution or your solution, it is far superior. Let me give you an example that applies to this entire thing, cold email, right? So audience labs. People can go to D7 Lead Finder and find all the emails that they want, but it doesn't mean that they're good. Doesn't mean that they have intent data. Doesn't mean that they have anything. So use a lot of those analogies in there. So simplify every single one of your steps by using it's kind of like. So I'll give you a really good example that we use in ours that actually is surrounding around audience lab data. So we use an analogy where we talk about intent data and our outreach. And then I'll use the term, it's kind of like if you went to a mall and you could put a sensor on every single one of the doors, and then you could basically go up 30,000 feet and you can look over the mall from ahead of it or on top of it. And you can see, based on hot zones, the most popular stores in the entire store or the mall. You can then target whichever, that's intent, right? So the more people that are in each store, you can target that. So like you just use simpler analogies to explain to people in common terms. It tends to work really well. It keeps people engaged and it helps people understand your solutions no matter what you're doing. Number 3, transition to your solution. So this is the point where you say, this is great, but how do you actually implement this? I'm going to give you 2 options. You learn for yourself, explain the pros and cons, or have it done for you, right? So break down the components of your solution, and then it's a call to action. So it's a very simple process, all done in 15 minutes. All you're doing is engaging a problem, telling people 4 steps to solve the problem, transitioning to your solution that could cut out all the steps anyways, and then doing a call to action. So just want to make sure. Cool. So the end of your VSL should drive traffic to the calendar, the newsletter, the lead magnet, anything you want to use to convert. So this is what I say, this outreach strategy works regardless of the medium you're trying to build, whether it's trying to build a newsletter, just trying to generate more leads, trying to get appointments. Obviously, any of us that are, business owners, appointments are number 1. So my focus with the entire product has always been, how do I generate appointments? And the VSL has become the tool that does it more so than the email. So make the calendar, lead magnet, whatever it is, appear 3 minutes before the end of the video. The secret behind this is you don't want people to just jump off of it and then, they see there's a calendar and then they run away. So I always do it 2 to 3 minutes before the end of that video. Step number 5 is inbox management. So this is gonna be a little bit more boring, but it's super important that you guys do this. Now you can manage your own inboxes, but I'm telling you 5-minute or less response time is going to change your life. So we actually use virtualstaff.ph to hire all of our inbox managers. It's only $2 to $3 an hour for each one of them. And their only job is to sit there and monitor an inbox all day. So we have them categorize responses into one of our categories, which is either yes, unsub, dialogue, or meeting request. And then each of those buckets has an SOP that they follow that's totally custom to that campaign. So if it's a client campaign or whatever it is, They say yes. Obviously, we're just going to send them the VSL. They unsub, add it to the unsub list. Dialogue, we have pre-built responses. So think of like an AI tool with a knowledge base. We kind of do the same thing where we just have pre-written responses that's based on the context of the offer. And then whatever they respond with, the VA actually goes in and sends that back. But if they don't know the right answer, they just ping it in a Slack channel for the founder of the product or the owner of that company, basically to write a custom message. And those will have a little bit more of a delay, but it's better to be in that shoe than trying to guess and getting it wrong. So then obviously with the meeting request, we just book the call. So if they send over a link, the VA will book the link or book on their link, or if they ask for a link, the VA will send it over. So that's the inbox management SOP. And here's our literal exact job posting. It's nothing special. We posted one a few days ago on the 28th of August, and we already got 36 applicants. So we already put pricing or what we're going to pay people. Everyone knows we require people to have at least a bachelor's, and we require them to send in a custom video. So we get super high quality and super good people that are coming through that speak extremely good English and type well. And as we all know, they're efficient. So basically all we do is just tell people your job is just going to be to serve as a full-time inbox manager that manages responses of both internal and client cold campaigns. Performance is just evaluated based on response times, where sub 5 minute is required. All responses and SOPs are provided to you with clear instructions, opportunity for performance bonuses based on efficiency. One little secret to give you guys on hiring VAs, if you tell them that there's performance bonuses, you'll typically get really good people. I don't know what it is, it just correlates really well. And it's not a huge thing to give somebody $500 in a bonus somehow. So cool. Step number 6, the final step here. So this is our AI Omnichannel Follow-Up. Now, this is something that we just recently stumbled upon, mastered. It's something that we tested for a little while. But the more platforms you're reaching out to somebody on, the higher level of perceived personalization. So it feels real. Like obviously, if I get an email from a person, and I think it's maybe a cold email, but then they hit me up on social media, they hit me up on LinkedIn, it just feels like they're actually targeting me specifically. So we actually found a way to completely automate the entire thing. And we use something called Sales Robot. So Sales Robot is by far, of all the things that we've tried, the best one to do this with. The founder himself actually is like a massive cold email person, and he built it off of this model. So since we get LinkedIn URLs and it's inside of all of the audiences that we pull, once one of our prospects actually completes a campaign, if they didn't respond to us at all through all the emails that we sent them, we actually have an automation built that pulls the contact from instantly and automatically drops it in the Sales Robot. You can do this in Zapier. Ours is in Make. It's a little bit more custom and a little bit more complex, but you don't need to. So I had the founder of the company actually send me his automation that he uses inside of Zapier. So all you do is just track basically the last email sent. There's a full guide to do this. And then once they get pulled, they drop in via webhook, and you automatically will send them an intro message or basically a message request or connection request. All you're doing is asking, hey, did you see my email? Have something interesting that could be of value to you. And this alone skyrocketed our responses. It absolutely, it almost doubled every campaign that we have, and ridiculous results. So you could also do it via GHL. Yes. I've just found it's easier to do it this way. But anyways, yeah. So totally possible to do via GHL. It's totally possible to do, any platform you want. I would just say to make sure you're using Sales Robot. I've found it to be the best. If you have something that you think is better, go ahead and use that as well. So like I said, we split tested this, seen an increase in conversions of almost 30%. And you can have your inbox manager literally manage the Sales Robot inbox right alongside the emails, since it has the exact same Unibox feature. So you just have 2 screens up. One of them is the email inbox. One of them is the LinkedIn inbox. Super simple to manage all the responses and have a lot of success there with it. So this is exactly how we're scaling without paid ads. That's literally the entire system, top to bottom. It's exactly what we're doing in the simplest form. So obviously want to open it up for questions or broad questions across the entire thing. Make sure everyone has some good context there. Adam, if you have anything as well. feel free to jump in.
Yeah, dude, you pretty much just gave away the farm. I mean, that was mad. I think let me just have a look at the questions here. Um, how to make it look without stalking. A lot of time people don't mind being sold and very average. There is an unsubscribe button for the most part. Do you have a VSL you can share? Does your company do this for others? All right, let's quickly address that. So, Landon, tell us a little bit about opt-in style. Bring up the site. Tell us a little bit about, like, obviously this is a process that you guys are really, really perfected. I mean, yeah, I'd love to know, talk a little bit about opt-in.io, and then one thing I'm curious on as well is this strategy where you basically, so like, is the B2B, is it still kind of like a newsletter type strategy, or is it more going direct and just booking tons of appointments?
So it's actually been both. So what we do is basically the strategy is to accumulate as many appointments up front as possible, because in B2B it's a much easier complex, and people that own businesses have a different, take on cold outreach, I feel like. So what we've actually done is, if we're not converting the appointment, we actually have a follow-up sequence that'll also drop them into a newsletter as well. So like we've tested kind of doing both and just seeing how much valuable content we can give them. And what I found is, like, most CEOs, founders, business owners, after about 5 or 6 emails, like if they're still opening, which we don't track them, but if they're not unsubscribing, they're probably either, opening as long as it's delivered, or they're just ignoring it. But we just don't see a lot of fall off. So it's like, well, might as well just keep sending to that person.
Yeah.
And one thing that we do in our follow-up as well that works really well is, like, we just still send the VSL no matter what. And eventually you'll start seeing trickle effects. Like, you'll get people that will open those emails, the 6th or 7th email, or the 6th or 7th follow-up, whatever it may be, that you just drop the VSL, where it's like, hey, I'm just going to send this over to you. Not sure if it's important or not. And you'll get people that book an appointment from it. So that's a big strategy. So B2C is more newsletter based, just because you can sell in a different way to the B2C market, which I think everyone is very well aware of, but B2B market is much more direct.
So the B2C is more it's kind of a longer term strategy. We do a newsletter and then you nurture through there. I know you're having absolutely killer results on B2C newsletter, but I guess the main bottleneck for that, right, is it's about like the domains, right? And Google sending domains. What's the main risks about the B2C? Because the strategy works. I just know that there's higher risk on sending B2C.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to remember with B2C is, like, Google's going to do whatever they can to protect grandma from getting scammed. And, Outlook's going to do the same thing. And so every measure that they take is always protecting their personal users. And I think that's why they leave, workspace open so much. But also keep in mind, unless you're in like a very niche market where, like, your customers are predominantly 70 years old, or, 60 years old or higher, most people have a work address. Like, they have a work email, and they probably look at it more than their personal email because they're working in it. Now, there is a level of intrusion you have to be careful of like trying to hit people with B2C. But if you're being valuable, and that's kind of like why I mentioned in our copy models, we're trying to be extremely valuable, where it's like, hey man, I know you're searching this without actually telling you I know you're searching this. I want to give you a resource, and just let me know. And that's the entire idea behind it. And so what we do in, cold email as a whole is kind of transitioned so much from being able to just send one email where somebody's interested and they book and on the calendar, they click your link on the calendar, to where we sometimes give 4, 5, 6 levels of value before we actually get a conversion from that person. But it's worth it, so we don't have to pay for that conversion. It's already paid for.
Yeah, it's just an infinite lead gen machine. I mean, I know, yeah, you did weight loss, and then you've done, what was you did another B2C one, which absolutely crushed. I'm trying to think which one it was.
The original one was a mental health newsletter.
Oh, the mental health newsletter. That's right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. A lot of people are asking, can they offer this as a white label service?
I mean, yeah, I think there's a path for that. Would definitely just have to look through it. So I know we'll probably get to some of those details. I know after questions, Adam, there's some stuff I want to share and obviously give people the path of how they can work with us directly.
Yeah.
And actually that's why I brought Levi on as well. So yeah, there's definitely a path. So we've done a few different partnerships now and some sort of like reselling, I guess, if you want to call it that. So it's definitely an option. So in a minute here, I'll be covering that.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, what's the next steps where they can work with you, bro? I know there's a ton of people hitting me up. I've had a ton of
Yeah.
emails. Let's drop
Yeah.
is it yep.
Real quick, just because my friend Joe here has been patient. I want to make sure I answer his question. He's got his hand up.
Oh, yep.
Go ahead, Joe.
Hey guys, appreciate it. This has been gold. Thank you very much. And by the way, I am one of those guys over 60 years old, having built quite a number of companies, four of them to be exact. I'm still passionate about trying to figure out how to market B2B SaaS. And so the one thing I always struggle with is most of the things that I hear about B2B SaaS is how to sell marketers marketing stuff, which we all love to buy. At the end of the day, I'm trying to get to the office of the CFO, and the struggle is how do we really get through to them on everybody outside of marketing, right? And so, sending a lot of emails, having 50 domains, trying to get through. I like the newsletter idea, but I mean, what's the core of the strategy for kind of the non-marketer to marketer trying to sell stuff to? I mean, any thoughts around that? I mean, that's the tricky part, I think, for a lot of
Yeah,
B2B
absolutely.
sales.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, like some of our best use cases is SaaS. Like what we do and like with what we have at Opt-ins. I was part of a SaaS company before this as well. So like that's where the idea originated from in a sense. And so the easiest way to go about that is understanding the ICP. So you mentioned CFOs in that sense. And I don't have any sort of context on what your product is, but obviously in a minute here, I'm going to give you a little invitation to chat with Levi so we can break this down. The biggest thing is understanding the pain point of that company and how your product fits with it. So like that's a general marketing term I think a lot of people will overuse. But once you understand that, or you can at least assume that, because everything in marketing is an assumption, right? Angles are assumptions. The way you go about things are assumptions. Once you can assume that, typically we'll make 3 or 4 different assumptions and we'll test all of them. So trying to understand the pain point of that one individual person. And once you send the email to the right person that has the right pain point, that understands you're the right solution, you have appointments. Like that's kind of how the collaboration works there. So the best way to go about it is very direct. And I know I'm kind of not answering the question directly, I feel like, but yeah, it's more so about understanding that customer. And I think that's why it's so important. And I mentioned earlier on in the call where I spend the most time in our entire process on our ICP, understanding who that person is. What are they looking at? What are they searching? Because if I can put an email in front of them where it's like, damn, I was literally just looking for help with this, the likelihood of that person responding to me is gonna be way higher.
And how are you dealing with the proverbial corporate spam filters? I mean, Google and Outlook obviously have theirs, but the corporate spam filters are brutal. I mean, brutal.
Yeah, I honestly, I've had a little bit of trouble with it, but I just think, we try to do enough volume to where it's kind of built into our volume of it. And so, it's hard to get around and there's no real answer for that right now, I think on the marketer side, but also that's why we do omnichannel. So like, one of the things that is really funny about this is we actually, like if you send an email and let's say the corporate spam filter spams it, and then we actually hit them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I sent you an email, thought it'd be interesting. And they go find that email, you still have a high likelihood of that response. So that's why we started adding the 2 layers of it. Ultimately we don't stop at just email. We try to keep it to LinkedIn, Adam and I are going to work on a Facebook side of this to where we can send outreach via Facebook. I've been bugging him about it. So, anyways, yeah, like that's the whole secret to it, is like no answer, but we can get there.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's a game. I think we're all
This would be huge for like webinars too, for account like
Yep.
businesses that are going for like HubSpot and things like that, what that are going like more so for those accounts. The webinar aspect would be massive.
Yeah.
I think what's really cool is this idea about kind of curating a newsletter as opposed to just sending out just cold emails like, hey, do you want to book? Because I think what a lot of people do is they'll cycle through hundreds and thousands of emails to get like, I don't know, 50 bookings. Whereas like you can turn those emails into hundreds of bookings if you just keep nurturing and position it more like a newsletter. And then you have like multi-channel follow-up and things like that. It's sick. I mean, the openers and clickers data itself is so useful. But that's awesome, man. All right. Well, how can we, how can they work with you, bro? Let's, do you have a link or something you can chuck in and I can send it as an email at the end?
Basically, what I want to do is obviously give you guys the opportunity, and Adam and I kind of, split some stuff back and forth, but, I want to give, the Audience Lab members a very exclusive deal, obviously some sort of direct access. We can do something that's super cool. And so we have put together something internally with us to where our team will actually build this entire thing for you. So we'll buy all the domains, we'll set all the domains up. We literally send our account, all the records, all the hosting, the inbox swaps. So we have like live host inbox swapping. Anytime you get blacklisted, it renews it. All of our outreach campaigns, all the split testing, we'll give you dedicated inbox managers, a done for you VSL. So we'll do all the scripting, the production, literally everything with the VSL. All of our omnichannel follow-up systems, plus we'll build the ICP and test new audiences. So basically we'll just do everything for you on the front end, as well as Levi and I are going to jump on one-on-one with all of the initial members. So the first 25, we're going to do one-on-one calls with you guys every single week, basically breaking down different stuff. And, any questions you guys have, doing some consulting, trying to help you guys out on the sales side. And then literally I'm going to give every single person my entire IP. So everything I've learned working with all the companies we've worked with, from offer generation, sales, funnels, my entire career's worth of information in a box. So as I was thinking through this today, like there's so much stuff that I think I've learned that I haven't shared. And I'm just going to give it to you guys included with this, because I think every person in here, if you can have, everyone can have a better offer. So plus I'll give you guys a mini course on how to set up your own newsletter sending platform. So you literally don't have to pay a paid platform like MailChimp, anything like that. This is super clutch and allows you to scale infinitely without having to pay like massive rates like MailChimp does. So, and like I said, we're going to give a massive discount to the first 25 people. And this is the first company that you will ever work with where this is not some gimmick. This is not some sales and marketing thing. We're literally going to post each one of the members in our member showcase directly on the website. So you guys can have full transparency on who's working with us. Also, it works as a twofold to anyone that comes and visits our website. They'll see you as well. We want to make something that's very exclusive. So, our team is fairly niche at this point, and we try to keep it somewhat small and tight. So we don't want to overload everything, but we do want to give 25 people that opportunity to work with us. So if you are interested in that, this link right here, which I will post in the chat as well, www.optins.io/AL. There's a short application, and then Levi will jump on a call with you, basically break down everything that we're doing, have a conversation to see if this makes sense, if it works for you, how we can work together, any sort of, option that we have for you guys, we'll break down. So again, I can post this in here if it's easier. And
yeah, I'll whack it in. That's huge. Let me see. One sec. Yeah, that's crazy. Cause like, I think like for context, you could go out and you could, so many people like doing like, oh yeah, cold email systems and things like that. But that's just getting that first few emails and then setting up the email system. Whereas this is like an actual sales system that qualifies the leads and does the follow-up. Like, that's friggin' insane.
Yeah. The biggest thing that we want to focus on too is like, Levi and I have both spent enough time in our life in the high ticket space and, seen a lot of different stuff and a lot of different offers and a lot of different things happen. We genuinely want to make this like our partners, right? So we're early stages where we have our core customer group. We want to add some more to it. And like I said, we're going to do a massive discount off of what we would typically charge for everyone coming over from Audience Lab. And so the access that you guys will get to us is very, very exclusive. We're going to do a lot of one-on-one stuff. We're going to do a lot of different stuff as far as like offer segmentations. And, Levi's going to do a lot of sales trainings and just different things that can help your guys' business away from the traffic we're generating. Like I've always told people, I can generate you appointments, but if they're not closing, or if you can't close them, or if your team's not closing them, it's a totally different story. So we try to make it like a full package, something that is very exclusive. And Adam was kind enough to bring it to you guys. So yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. That's sick. And yeah, if you guys want to look at doing this as white label, because I know a ton of people are looking to do that, book a call, because I'm sure we can figure something out there for you to build some kind of system or something. I mean, it's yeah. Should they still book a call if they want to do white label?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have an option. So like with where we're at, we haven't done, obviously we haven't like built out a white label program or anything like that, but there's capabilities there. Everything is set up for it. Everything's in place to where if we want to do it, it is 100% a possibility. And I know a lot of you guys that are agencies that have a large client base. It's something that you can spread away to your clients, and we can build a good package around it. So
sweet, dude. Well, man, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, this is 50 slides. Like, you went hard, bro. I love it.
Most of our stuff is like, when we do VSL, like long-term VSLs through our sales process, and not even VSLs, but like pre-call videos, that stuff's like 200-300 slides. So this one was a short one.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. And I mean, guys, Landon's like, this guy's built, $3 million a month companies already. So dude knows his stuff. Thanks for sharing that with us, man. Look, I'm gonna send this out as recording. I'll also send out the replay link. There's like 300 people that couldn't make it today that wants like access to the recording. So yeah, this has been gold. Awesome,
Adam,
guys.
Can we drop the slideshow like in the school community or wherever we drop the
Yeah, I'll send it out I'll put it on our website. I'll send it out via school, and then I'll also send it via email. So make sure everybody gets access, and I'll have that link in there as well.
Yeah. I'll send over the link to the Google Slides to you as well. So I know somebody asked if they could get those slides. But yeah, I mean, like I said, any of you guys that have questions about it, if you want to go implement it yourself, I'm more than happy to give you, insights, tips, help you out any way possible. Book a call, chat with Levi. We'll find the best path forward for you. Make sure we can do this for you.
Hell yeah, dude. Awesome. Well, look, man, thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know how to top that. That was absolutely sick. So I'll be sending that out. Guys, that is a sick deal. Get in, opt-ins. I think as well, in terms of like the omni-channel stuff, we've been testing out a lot of stuff with Diley, and I know Landon will chat about that, but we're going to be probably including that in the follow-up, which is pretty sick for the B2B stuff. So that's going to be awesome too. So might throw that in there for those 25 people. Let me I'll talk to you about that. We'll throw in some kind of like omni-channel thing, just like add insane value. But yeah, that was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for rocking up. We'll see you next week, and look out for the recording. I'll try get this processed and sent out as soon as possible.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys.
Sweet. See you guys. I'll leave this open with the link for the last people who want to book. But yeah, jump in. I'll paste the link one more time. That was freaking sick.
I'll stick around for a minute too if there's any questions. So
yeah, no, I can make you actually what I'll do. Let me cancel the recording. So